Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ultimate Belgian track that is Zolder. Famous, of course, for the 3 chickens that you can cut the shit out of, which were the only additions from the original GP circuits that was built back in the 60s. In the 80s, it of course became the unfortunate site for the death of Gilles Villeneuve, but in a very touching moment 2 years later, Michel Alboreto won the next Grand Prix that the circuit hosted with the late Gilles' number 27. Interestingly, the track also heard several bicycle races, and in 2016 it was the first confirmed case of someone having a secret motor inside of their bicycle. And of course our drivers tonight will be using their not-so-secret engines to get around 4 kilometers of premium Belgian tarmac, or 2.5 miles of tarmac, with 14 corners and key action areas in turns 1 and 2, 4 and 5, and then turn 8, and then finally turns 12 and 13. The setups today will favour soft suspension to deal with the aggressive curbs in the chicanes and high downforce because of the lack of long straights. And with that, we've got the current championship standings from my fellow commentator, Alex Robinson.
Hello, Christian. Right, so today in the gold category, Hakan Roholt leads with 318 points, no surprises there. Gabriel Hauke comes in at second with 298. Darren Menzies follows in third with 266. Roman Fraller closely chasing behind him with 263. And Rich Gasson coming in fifth with 259. In the silver class, Dagan Errol keeps his lead with 284 points. However, he's matched by Lee Hems for joint first. Edward Wilkins comes in third with 281, gaining 1 position versus last week. Jacob Hale follows, 272, and Ryan Greenaway with 265. In the bronze class, Dean Hyde keeps his lead with 307 points. Sean Cardus moves up to second with 303. Nick Giles loses out, down to 298 points. Andy Bentley's promoted into fourth with 268, and Rory Kilby takes fifth with 199 points. Those are our standings today.
Well, in what is round 8, I have to say those standings are really close. Of course, Hakan Roholt slightly ahead of the pack in the gold class, but it's fantastic to see, especially the silver class, 2 people sharing the amount of points for first position. It's quite amazing that we haven't got bigger gaps after 7 rounds of racing.
I know, but I can't help but feel it's part down to the points system, that essentially every driver gets some points for racing. We're not like Formula 1 where we just chop it off at the top 10.
Yeah, that will have an effect, and it really rewards consistent participation from our drivers, which is what we're all about here.
Of course, it's key to mention that each driver gets a Joker race so that they can take part in real life.
What's that?
And that can have an effect on the standings.
Yeah, of course. So after the season will be finished, we're going to see maybe potentially some changes with some of the Joker races and stuff like that. Now,
yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah. And we've got still in the lead Hakan Roholt, but we saw that last week. Quite sort of, you know, we're quite used to him sort of being clear in the lead. And let's talk about Nürburgring last week, because there was a fantastic battle with Isaac Santiago there, and Hakan Roholt 4P1 for the entire 55 minutes of the race, which has been absolutely incredible, and it's been an absolute joy to watch.
It was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen that race, I really do suggest that after this one you go back and watch it. It was a nail biter. Several, not just Hakan Roholt and Ian Santiago, battling out to the very last lap. You had other groups, so I think it was Gasson and Stevens were battling it out to the very end. Several cars further down the field were also battling out. It was an absolutely fantastic race. I'm hoping for further great racing today.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely hoping for more great racing, and I think today we might get some interesting action on the track just because of how short the track is. So we're going to have the cars nicely packed together, which should make for some good racing. But of course, Zolder, pretty infamous for being very tough to overtake at.
I sure hope you love chicanes, because Zolder sure does.
Yeah, Zolder's got them all. I think got probably more chicanes than 2 or 3 of the other tracks combined in the rest of the season. Looking at the standings here in free practice with 10 minutes left, it looks like it might be a fairly interesting battle here today, with a couple of new contenders being Ryan Harper and Roman Frawler here for the potential of ruining Hakan's P1 frenzy.
Well, yeah, but after the performance of the last couple of races, if I was a betting man, I'd still put my money down on Roholt to just pull it out of the bag when you least expect it.
Absolutely, he might be in qualifying here today, doing his classic, where he puts in a lap time and then just relaxes for the next 10 minutes, drives around a little bit, and then on the last lap he just absolutely destroys everybody's time. So we'll see if he's capable of doing that again today. But
I also love how in interviews he's always talking about, oh well, the car, I just wasn't feeling it. I was I'd just done a 24-hour and I wasn't feeling, that I could do it, and then I just kind of somehow it worked out. It's like, I would be happy to have just hit the time you first set.
Yeah, absolutely. He does a lot of racing, and sometimes that can affect him, but also, it's just the amount of practice that you get by doing those really long races. You get very accustomed to being in ACC, and of course, the quirks of ACC sometimes.
Yeah, of course. I imagine that after 24-hour, you can probably drive the track in your sleep, if you haven't already.
Yeah. You go to your bed after 24 hours of racing around any track, and you wake up from a nightmare where you're just driving the same track over and over in your dreams, because, well, that's just what your brain's used to at that point. After a couple of hundred laps. Yeah.
Why can't I pit? Where is the pit lane?
just let me pit, please. Yeah, well, after today, our drivers will definitely be dreaming of chicanes, that's for sure.
I go left, I go right, I go left, I go right.
Yeah. There's one that's actually right and then left, so at least that's a little bit of a variety for the chicane enjoyers of today.
Oh wow, such variety.
Yeah. One of them's very slow, the other one's slightly quicker, and then there's a third, even quicker one. Oh, Roman Frawler there. I think his car might have needed a wee, so he sent it into the kitulator there.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, sometimes. It's fine when it happens in practice, but when the car decides that it really needs a into the kitulator in a race, it's just frustrating.
Okay. I told you, go before we go into practice.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like having kids racing cars, isn't it? Well, I mean,
that's why these dads are so good at it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, not that either of us would really know about that, but these dads seem to be very apt at taking care of these babies, and by that I mean the race cars that they drive. Make them move very quickly. Just trying to figure out what's going on here in this situation. We've got Dennis McElligott stopped somewhere. causing a yellow flag somehow from the pits?
Do you think he's hit drive and then just not moved?
Maybe, but then we've also got Jacob Hale here. And he's just been stood here at this straight for the last, I don't know, 5 minutes. And he's just relaxing. I don't think he just forgot that he's in the car because, well, he's in the middle of the back straight. And there he goes.
He's having a think.
Yeah. We've got Stephen Krall here on the screen. What is it? Just about a week and a half ago. Not last Friday, but the Friday before, I joined him in that exact Honda NSX around here for the 1 hour team sprint that DGSR holds. Shameless plug, of course, if you want to join, go to dgsr.eu and to the Discord, and if somebody was going to point you in the right direction. But me and Stephen managed to get very cheeky P1 in that race, so just a little bit of a self pat on the back, a little bit of a humble brag. But also Stephen Krall today could be quite the weapon.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on him throughout the race, see how he's getting on, and of course set the curse on him. Yeah,
we have to set the curse on him. He can only do so much good driving around this track, and after one victory, I'm sure we can curse him into a not so good performance. Not that we wish to do it, it's just that we will do it by accident.
Yeah, it'll be the worst time. Just his car's getting a little bit slippery on the tyres. We'll have a look at him and he'll just go spinning into a wall.
Yeah. I've heard some murmurs from the people who are also driving the mid-engine cars today, so the cars like the NSX, the Ferrari and some of the McLarens, that Zolder really isn't a track that favours those cars. And you would think it would be because of the tight corners, but it's just the aggressiveness of the curbs in the chicanes that really makes you lose a lot of time unless you absolutely nail the corner. So it's going to be a challenging time for those drivers today.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be driving the Ferrari or the McLaren today, that's for sure.
No.
You think this car's supposed to corner and all the front engine cars are just taking the chicanes at a straight line angle? It's not fair.
Yeah. And then that's kind of reflected in the current practice standings as well. I mean, you look at the top two, of course, you've got Ryan Harper and Huck and Rohold in some mid-engine cars, but then it's 3 BMWs, an Aston Martin and another BMW, so there clearly is a little bit of dominance of the front engine car that can munch curbs around this track.
Oh, clearly not. I mean, clearly making it work for them. That being said, 3 BMWs all taking 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Yeah. It's probably quite apt to mention that today's, well, all of the sessions today, I believe, are starting at 11 PM. So we will have night qualifying and we will have a night race today, which makes for some really good lighting in the game. But hopefully we'll be able to spot the liveries and spot the different cars during the race as well. Of course,
Hope you like staring at headlights.
Yeah. Or Zolder, one of the not very well lit tracks, I would say, with the, you know, occasional sodium lamp that you can see over there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge, I think, for us in the commentary box and for those on track as well. So 1 more minute to go. Then we're into quali. It looks like Harper has managed to lock in that best time, unless Hakan's about to pull an absolute banger of a lap. But that's not looking very likely.
No, but of course we can't read into these times too much either, because we don't know what practice programs they're running, whether they're running with full fuel, quali fuel. I mean, if I could do a lap time in the 28s with quali fuel, I'd be very proud. But these guys, I think we're going to see some really quick times here today during the race in the 28s.
Yeah, but it's going to be a good yardstick to see when the first couple of laps get set as to whether quali is going to be running slower or faster than practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the track is at optimum right now, and the temperature is quite cold, which is really good for low lap times. So we'll see how the next day pans out in qualifying, see if it's any warmer or if the track decides to change its mind from optimum. I don't know about how about you, but I'm really looking forward to qualifying. I think it's going to be one of those things today that really determines how the race is going to go for the individual drivers, just because how difficult it is to overtake around here.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks, isn't it? That it is really going to set it. That being said, if anyone manages to set a really good qualifying time and get stuck, perhaps on a not optimum setup in the race, or perhaps set some damage, it's going to be really quite exciting, because I expect we'll get more of the close following that we did last race.
Hopefully, because that makes for really fascinating watching. It's forwarded now onto qualifying. The session is starting. We'll see who comes out on track first. And it doesn't look like anything for now.
Looks like the bronze and silvers will be taking the lead today.
I think so. I'm just trying to find somebody. Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
So Nick Giles set the best time in practice for the bronze category of a 1:30.217. See if he can repeat that today, right now. The track temperature has gone up by 2 degrees, but it's still an optimum surface.
It's
No
definitely
rain's
going to
expected.
Yeah, no rain expected for the race either, I think. I think it's going to be really interesting to see just how much of an effect this is going to have. Is it going to increase the lap times by a couple of tenths? Is it not going to increase the lap times by a couple of tenths?
I wonder at what point around the lap some of our drivers are going to pick up on the fact that the tyres are now a bit too pressurised compared to what they just were.
Yeah, there were definitely some people who came out straight onto the track as well, so whether they clocked the temperature change and managed to make an adjustment is going to be very interesting. And let's go for a lap around Zolder here with Nick Giles. Braking point here just before that gantry. Really trying to maximise the run through there. It's a tricky corner. Then at the marshal booth on the left, nice brake and a turn in. Once again trying to maximise the run through there. Really difficult 2 corners to start. At that exit road on the left, brake, 1 down 1 gear, pitch it in, the car just grips up. There's a decent amount of camber there for it. Now the first chicken. Somewhere around 75 meters. in the McLaren, this is a great line, doing a really good job avoiding the big curbs, not unsettling the car. As soon as you straighten out here, go on the brakes, you can really cut these as well over here. And then it very much depends on your setup, just how flat you can take these two turns.
Looks like he's taking it pretty flat to me.
Yeah, that looked very quick to me, and that looked a little too quick. Still manages to keep it valid there through that corner. Very tricky braking zone. It always feels like you brake either at the right time or massively late. There is no like, oh, I broke a little too late.
Well, I imagine it being slightly downhill doesn't help that at all.
No, definitely not. And it definitely didn't help Nick's lap time here. But we do have the first time on the board, 132, quickly beaten by Jason Daly with a 131.6. A quick lap around here with Andy Bentley now the first man into the 130s with a 130.9. Of course, this is going to be a 15-minute qualifying session for the silver and bronze drivers right now. After 15 minutes, the whatever laps are started can be finished. No more new laps can be started after 15 minutes pass, and our pro drivers will be released.
I'm sure they're chomping at the bit right now, watching as the silvers and the bronzes make their way round, trying to get some understanding of how what the track's like as they go around, and either that or they're finally getting that last glass of water before the race.
Yeah, of course. For a 55-minute race, you don't think you'll need water, but sometimes some of us race in very small rooms or attics, and it gets pretty warm with a gaming PC, a human being, and sometimes a very hot wheel as well.
Well, rocket of a lap. First to break into the 129s.
Yeah, that was a great lap to watch actually. It was very smooth, no drama anywhere, and it really reflected in the lap time.
Of course, Dennis McGallagher doesn't want to be outdone. Pips him with by 0.007 of a second. Back into first.
Yeah, back into first he goes. He was there. Andy Bentley just beat him, and then Dennis just goes, no, I'll have that place back, mate. Don Speak English over here seems to have figured something out. He just invalidated his lap, but he was about 1.5 seconds up on his last, so...
Looks like Ryan Greenaway's on a stormer.
Yeah, he definitely is, actually. A whole second, almost a 1.5 seconds up. Good run there through the right-hander, through the 90-degree right. Now it's just the last chicane to go. Aggressive over the curbs. Good traction out at the end as well. That's going to be...
Put him into first.
And it really does, yeah. And by quite a margin as well, by a 1/10.5. We've spoken about Don't Speak English just before. He's a 1.5 seconds on his lap time again. Hopefully doesn't get affected by that BMW in front of him. Good run through the last corner there.
Oh, fantastic run.
From 15th to 3rd. What a lap. What a lap.
I'd be happy with that, I would.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I think he's the season 6 overall winner. So very, very consistent driver.
Certainly seeing it. Looks like so we've got a couple of drivers out at the minute, about to set some good times. Hopefully, Jay Hale and Giles and Bruce Oos is trying to scrape a bit more time.
Yeah, Jason Daly just crossing the line, couple of positions. Nick Giles just behind him, couple of positions up as well, and Jacob Hale just behind him, a couple of positions up. Nice little trio of improvements there over the line. Just about 6.5 minutes left of qualifying. Now's the time that if you need to make a setup adjustment, or if your tyres aren't feeling quite as hot as, well, not quite as hot, but not quite as grippy as they did at the start, now's the time to go back into the pits, come back out, and you've got a shot at 2 more laps.
That's unfortunate.
Very unlucky there.
I don't know, I imagine he's not feeling particularly confident with the car today. Just noticed his traction control is a 9 out of 11.
Ah. Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be trying to deal with the oversteer that's probably coming from hitting the curbs. Or maybe dealing with a setup change that he's made so that he's got more turn-in that Ferrari as well.
Yeah, trying to make up for the how much of a bastard it can be on those curbs through the, through the chicanes.
It's Ryan Greenaway now in the lead, and he's just improved his lap time to a 1:29.4.
Ryan, of course, in the last race having a little bit of difficulties with a spin out, which we caught live, unfortunately for him, and a couple of incidents past that, which really, I think, affected his mental state in the race. I'm hoping he can really pull it out of the bag this time.
Yeah, it would be good to see him bouncing back and getting some good points on the board again, after what was a very frustrating Nürburgring experience.
Yeah, talking of bouncing, he really bounced it over those curbs in that chicane. Not sure that's the best strategy for time.
A quick replay of how... Oh no, we're not going to have a quick replay of that, I think. Yeah, that's a very aggressive line there for the chicane. It's a tricky balance sometimes through some of these chicanes. Do you take them a little bit easier and then rely on the traction that you've got, or do you take them head on, bounce over them, and hedge your bets that you're going to be able to catch the car and you're going to keep the advantage from going very straight over those curbs?
Yeah, not an easy decision. Bit of a catch-22, really.
Yeah. Now, I've just noticed that Eddie Wilkins has a QR code on the front of his car, so if somebody manages to catch what that QR code leads you to, we'd very much appreciate you letting us know.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? Gonna try and get it on my phone now.
Just as Eddie Wilkins goes into the wall there, I wonder if we can get a nice little bonnet view. No, we can't. Fortunately, there's not much that we can do with the cameras that are available to us.
Unfortunately, my phone is not recognising it as a QR code. I think it's a bit distorted from wrapping around the bonnet.
It must be, yeah. But I've got some information in the viewers chat that it might just be your link to the DGSR.eu website. So if you manage to catch a glimpse of it at some point where it's readable, use that to direct yourself to the website.
Got to be quick though. He's not going to stop for you.
No, he definitely is not gonna make it easy for you.
So we're coming up on the switch over time. Ryan Greenaway is taking first at the minute with 129.172. Dennis McGallagher's coming in the second with 129.7. Greenaway really pulling ahead. And Don Speak English with a 129.9.
Yeah, Ryan really making a big difference there with his driving. To make sure that he's got a big advantage for the race. I think it's going to be it's going to be relatively competitive as well in the pro class, that lap time, I think, actually. So Jacob Hale managed to jump into second position there. Really nice, 129.6.
Another front engine car. Where's the front? It's the Lexus's front engine, isn't it? Is it mid?
It is front engined, yeah. It does have the big V8 at the front. Of course, one of the best sounding cars in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't knock that sound really.
No, it's
really taking aggressive on the curb.
Yeah. Got a couple of people trying to make the run to the finish line there on the map in the last 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. All of them, I think, have managed to make it across the lap. Sorry, across the line. But they are very bunched up together, so that's not going to make for an easy qualifying.
Well, certainly not, and it doesn't look like the deltas are particularly favourable at the minute.
No, I only really see 2 green deltas now, one of them being Dennis McElligott here, about a 10.5 up. But he's managed to get himself into a bit of clean air, so it's looking pretty good for him. You can just see the snake of the pro drivers coming out.
Oh yes, it's all going to start kicking off soon. So I guess the question is can Dennis get second back off this lap? It's looking hopeful.
It is, but the run through the final chicane slightly hampers him. He's going to get a couple of hundredths.
But it's not enough, sadly, is it?
It's not enough for a change in positions. But a great drive from him to put himself into P3 for the silvers. Now we've got some of the gold drivers here for us.
So it looks like the Barros is our first one out, if I'm not mistaken. It might be.
You know what, I actually have absolutely no idea. I think he's still on an out lap, and we've got a couple of people now starting their hot laps. But Carlos Barros, of course, being one of the OG drivers driving the OG Porsche, we might as well stick with him for the rest of his lap, and then watch a nice little onboard while some of the other lap times are going to come in, and then we can have a bit of a tally and see how it's gone. really tricky. There's a bit of an elevation change there. The track slightly curves down, and it's so easy to lose traction with your rear wheels out of there. Nice and aggressive on that inside curve.
So first time on the board, is Harper with a 1:28.59. Lewis comes in ahead, 1:28.52.
P3, Gabe Polka 1:28.6. Looking very tight there for the qualifying session. Looking at the sector times, somebody else is holding the best time for each sector, so...
I love it. So we've got Harper with sector 1, Lewis with sector 2, and our man in the lead, Hakan Roholt, in sector 3.
What about the lap that Carlos Barros is doing over here? It is valid. I don't think it's his best. That might be because we're watching it and we're on board, you know, all the weight from the extra bodies.
Should add that as a suggestion. When the commentator's on board, you get the equivalent of 2 people ballast.
Yeah! Well, you know what they say about a camera, it adds 5 pounds or whatever it is, so... Marek Dvořák over here on an absolute flyer, 7/10 up. Very interesting camera work there. Coming through the last chicane. Good run out of there. Almost 9/10 up. I think it's going to be by the time that he crosses the line. Moves himself up into 8th. Just above Ryan Greenaway there. As we were saying earlier, still a very competitive lap time there for in the pro category for him.
While that was happening, Ian Santiago moves himself into 4th position. 4 places, as it stands at the minute, 4 places ahead of Hakan Roholt, so it might not. Fingers crossed to get the battle between those two again, or something just as good.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But I'm telling you something. If you have a quick look at the big green numbers next to Hakan Roholt's name, he's going to be moving up in the world. He's a whole second up on his best lap time.
Oh, okay, so he's just going to do one of his classic laps. He comes up into 1st. Second ahead of everyone else.
I think he might just, because this lap time is looking like an absolute flyer. Does anybody remember giving this guy clearance to take off? Because he is flying here! That's the first in the 27s. Hakan Roholt, 27.8, 6/10 over his nearest competitor in P2.
I tell you what, that beat his best time in practice by about 0.4 of a second.
What a lap! What a lap! And that's. Did he just take the fuel out, and was he just doing those lap times on full fuel, or did the pressure just get to him in the right way, and did he just nail that lap? We'll never know.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. But someone else who's on to an absolute banger is Gabriel Halka, who's coming to a stop. Oh, that's such classic, isn't it?
As the back of his car says, not cool, man.
This is going to be in the highlight reel, isn't it?
Fingers crossed. Of course, he can put anything he wants into the highlight reel, you know, it's him making them, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, the irony is he's the one that makes them. So, at risk of cursing some other drivers, we've got Cormac Quinn with 3 tenths ahead, and I believe Gasson just improved his time. Can't see where he improved to.
I think to P16, and he's improving again on his best lap time, so there's probably going to be some movement as well. Cormac improving a little bit on his best. 2 positions up, with just under 2 tenths of an improvement there.
Gasson just building more and more of more and more time. On an absolute tear. I mean, say what you want about the mid-engine cars struggling through the chicanes, but they are, you know, there's a couple of examples that are really tearing around, particularly off pole position and driver in second, both in Lamborghinis and Ferraris, respectively.
Yeah, we thought we'd see more of the front-engine cars, or at least I thought that we'd see more of the front-engine cars towards the top of the field. But those two have really made a difference. They made something work.
A bit late on the braking into that last chicane there, which cost him.
Yeah, and he really demonstrated the non-compliance of the mid-engine cars over those sausage curbs as well, losing a lot of time in that little section. Fowler with a great first couple of turns. 2 tenths up on his best. And just as we look at him, we curse him, and he's now a 10th down.
Quick, stop watching him so you can recover. Yeah,
let's have a quick look at somebody else and curse their lap. Make sure that they don't improve. David Lewis here. He's the father of something like 8 children, somehow still finding time to practice and race.
Don't know how he finds the time at all.
I have no idea. It is something to be... You know, songs should be written about people like him. And our...
Go away, children, I'm driving cars.
Yeah. To the tune of Baby Shark. But it is just like we said. We switched to David Lewis here, and he was just slightly in the green. And as soon as we switched onto him, the lap delta turned into lovely little red color. So yeah, this is something that we're doing to these poor guys.
Clearly. Who are we going to curse next? San Diego's doing pretty well.
He is, yeah. Let's have a quick look at him. 2 tenths up so far. Decent run through the big curved chicane. 3 minutes left in the qualifying session. That's just about 2 laps around here for these guys.
I can definitely tell he's a subscriber to the strategy of what turn.
Yeah. Send first, ask questions of the rear tires later.
Yes, exactly. It's all about slow down, go straight line as possible, power, repeat.
It's looking like a pretty good lap for him. Still in the green despite our best efforts. Up into 30 he goes.
Very nice. Very nice. got Dvorak improving, Stevens improving.
Stevens
He's on.
just finishing the lap.
Not enough time to curse him, really.
No, didn't quite manage. And Marek Wojak through the last chicken. Good run through there as well. 2 tenths up from 14th up to 12th. It's only something. Somebody who's slightly struggling today, it seems, is Thomas Pichon here. It's been a while since he's been able to set a valid lap. I think there's a lot of aggression there, and he's just about got time for one last one.
His car looks like it's a bit squirrely. It seems to be sliding a little bit coming out of corners.
Yeah, which is interesting. Which is an interesting thing to say about the Aston Martin, because that thing is usually planted.
Yeah, maybe he's tried to make the rear a little bit looser to deal with all these chicanes.
Yeah, maybe. A lot of these corners around here, of course, 90 degrees or more. So, good turn-in is essential to be fast around here.
Yeah, it definitely looks to me like he's struggling with grip.
Yeah, a little bit of a snap of oversteer there again. Stephen Kral there just went from 10th to 5th, about 3 or 4 tenths, sorry, no, 2 or 3 tenths of an improvement. Strange strategy there by Thomas Pichon into the pit wall. Maybe some of that frustration coming through into the driving.
Yes, it's like his mechanics love him.
Yeah. Tim Straighten, a last little attempt at an improvement, 3 tenths up. Moves up one position ahead of Ryan Greenaway, who's done really well with that lap time from the silver qualifying. The last 2 people over the finishing line are going to be Marek Wojak, who is not going to improve on his lap time. He's 6 tenths down, but Cormac Quinn here just about in the green. Doesn't manage to improve in the standings, but he does take the best sector 2 from Hakan Roholt, so that is something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, although I don't quite understand how, but I'll let him have it.
I think it might have something to do with the power of straight line and send it.
No doubt.
Either way, we've got the qualifying results are in. Let's start with the silver category today in the middle. We've got Ryan Greenaway in P1 with a half-second gap to Jacob Hale in P2, and then Dennis McElligott in P3. In the AM category, it's Andy Bentley in first place, followed by Sean Cardus, and then Nick Giles in P3. The AM category, of course, the haven of the McLaren, it seems, in the first 4 positions. And overall, of course, we've got absolutely fantastic lap time there. The only man who actually got into the 27s through the entire qualifying, Hakan Roholt. Followed by Ryan Harper, who was, I think, something like 4 tenths behind. And then Isaac Santiago in P3. Oh, got just about a minute and a half until the engines come on and the race start procedure starts happening. So now's a really good time to get yourself a drink and get yourself warmed up and ready for the next 55 minutes of racing here at Belgium's finest racetrack.
Soon.
And with 30 seconds to go, the final preparations for the race start are just about done. Any adjustments to tyre pressures, fuel levels, anything like that being completed. It is a very short run down to the start line here at Zolder. Very warm welcome to everybody in the chat as we are about to go racing for 55 minutes at Zolder. Just running through the last chicane. 70 k's an hour down the start-finish straight. A really tricky first corner. It's going to be a tricky first corner to get through with all of these cars next to each other. And it's green light and away we go for 55 minutes at Zolder. Hakan Roholt managing to keep lead of the race. A little bit of contact there. Gabe Holka going off the track. Nobody else collected in the incident. A little bit of carnage there at the back for the silvers and the bronzes. John Collins, James Brown and Dean Hyde there in a little bit of a tussle. Hakan Roholt still keeping the lead. Closely followed there by Ryan Harper. There's been a big incident here. Let's go back and see.
What do you think? Do we need to red flag that or not?
I'm just looking at it in the replay. I think that is red flag worthy in my eyes. To be honest, that is a couple of cars involved.
You want to call it in the chat then?
I will do. We're calling a red flag. There's been a big incident at the end, and it's we've decided it's going to be a restart. There's been at least 8.
Ping Cormac.
Okay. Thank God for that.
Red flag, red flag.
I think
red
that's
flag,
a good,
red
that's
flag.
a good move.
Still here.
Oh, that was unnecessary. Minus 6 KO. Minus.
Sorry about that. Try again. Welcome back.
Hello. Right. Well, we get the luxury of having a race restart, of course. I think there was a little bit of an incident in turn 1 there with 3 or 4 cars coming off, and then was it turn 3, I believe?
Yeah, exit to turn 3. Several cars just ran into each other.
Yeah. We've spoken about these incidents in the community a little bit before, and decided to be a little more aggressive with the red flag in the future. I think there's been a few incidents that we decided to not red flag, and people were sort of saying maybe next time. So we're taking the luxury.
Yes. Do you mind restarting your screen share with me?
Absolutely. Now you actually know what I'm looking at, which is going to be very helpful.
Yes. Very helpful.
Well, you've all got a minute to go until the race, until the engines go on again. So if you didn't quite manage your wheeze or your poos or stuff like that, still got a little bit of time.
That's a very rapid poo if you're managing to do that in 2.5 minutes.
Well, who knows? We might be going in for another race restart after this one.
I hope not.
No, hopefully there's going to be a little bit more care going into the first couple of corners. It's the first time there's been a restart in a couple of seasons, so I think that's a big slap on the wrist for whoever caused that.
Yeah, absolutely. Although the irony is, with Gabe Hauke being the typical one to say no restarts, he actually lost out in the first corner, so that might come across as a blessing for him this time.
Yes, absolutely. Even though it had nothing to do with his actual incident, he's quite lucky in this situation. Just make sure everything is working, all the TV cameras are where they're meant to be. And the race start procedure is back on. Get the heat back into those tires. And let's have a second attempt at a race start here. Ryan Harper there, slightly more aggressive than last time. It's green light and away we go. Hakan Roholt gets a really good start there, just like David Lewis. Going back through the field, there's a little bit of a touch again. 2 cars affected, and one of those being Gabe Hauke, so he does not get lucky with the race restart.
Oh, the irony, he's stuck on the inside this time.
Yeah. But it looks nice and clean. There's a little bit of contact here again. Gabe Hauke involved, I think, again. Nick Giles, the man who's taken the biggest hit at the back of the field now. But I think we can comfortably continue racing here. Ryan Harper manages to get past Hakan Roholt somewhere. I think that must have been into turns 1 or 2. It's a shame that I didn't manage to actually see that, but we've got Ryan Harper in the lead of the race. Thomas Pichon putting pressure onto Ryan Greenaway here, and a little bit of a tussle behind him with Dennis McElligott and Darren Menzies as well. Eddie Wilkins and just running onto the grass, trying to get past Don't Speak English. And Hakan Roholt is right on the back of Ryan Harper immediately. Could there be a 3 wide into turn 1? Eddie Wilkins brakes a little bit earlier, takes the safe route. Not quite safe enough though. Just tags somebody and gets himself spun around. Unfortunate for him, but the other car keeps him racing. Meanwhile, Bruce Hopkins has lost a couple of positions here. It's very tight here, right at the back of the field. It's Nick Giles.
That got caught out in that corner.
Nick Giles there on the inside, managing to just keep it safe. Ryan Harper, meanwhile, putting a bit of a gap on Hakan Roholt. And Rich Gasson really putting the pressure now onto Michael Goff here. Brown getting caught out in that corner, losing 2 positions. And a move there between Dean Hyde and Nick Giles. Doesn't quite make it stick.
Nice battle going on between Tartan, Dvorak and Stevens at the minute. Coming into turn 3.
Yeah, now Michael Goff and Rich Gasson are getting involved in that as well. Hawker just getting through the field, trying to catch back up those positions, just getting past Matt Keys for a position. Michael Stevens' Porsche once again demonstrating the low settings for TC there. The back stepping out.
I don't think I even need to make you guess what number it's on this week.
No, I don't think so. We've got Roussos and Matt Keys have been off the track. They've got a yellow flag. Jason Daly here making a move around the outside, followed by Gabe Hawker. Gabe trying to... That was expertly done there by Gabe. Just gets that position passed as Jason was trying to make the move onto Cormac. He uses that inside line to get past Jason.
In the meantime, Stevens overtakes Dvorak into the final chicane. Now Dvorak's under pressure from Goff.
Very much under pressure.
Get a run on him here.
Defensive line, yeah. Don't
speak English, has had a really big shunt. He's got loads of damage. He's nursing it back to the pits.
Yeah, that does not look like a healthy car. He's lost a ton of positions there as well. Cormac Quinn, once again, opting for the early pit stop. Let's see how it works out for him this week.
It's not even 7 minutes into the race.
He just cannot help himself. He's got a thing for the early pit stop.
He really does. He must be absolutely convinced it works well.
Even though there's been probably less times that it has worked for him this season, just because of how the cookie crumbled. But maybe this time he's going to manage to get himself into some clean air.
Well, he's exiting shortly. I'll tell you where he comes out.
Good battle here.
Could actually backfire on him. He might be about to pull out right into the group of the leaders.
Yeah, and of course he's going to be effectively a lap down, so he's going to have to give those positions. Yeah, he is slowing down quite a significant amount.
Yeah.
I think that is Roman Frawler ahead of him. The current holder of the fastest purple lap. Well, this battle carries on between Michael Stevens, Mark Dvorak, Mike Goff and Rich Gasson.
Stevens really getting a slide on coming out of that chicane. I think it's cost him a bit of time versus Mick Tartan.
Yeah, it seems that way. Gabe Hawker, meanwhile, making his way past some more, for him, slower traffic. Oh, that was a very nearly ended in disaster there for Ben Goymer just ahead. Darren Menzies absolutely glued to the back of Tim Streeton's Aston Martin.
Action all over the track, just the way we like it.
Just the way we like it, and just the way we predicted it. Couple of cars there.
Ah, Gabe going for the early pit.
Yeah, I think he's probably a little... He's hoping that he might come out somewhere a little bit in cleaner air. Just because getting through the effectively slower traffic probably hurting his lap times a little bit. Bruce was going on an adventure there out of turn 1.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a great opportunistic move from Jacob Hale. Taking advantage there of, I think it was Ben Goymer's mistake. And then Andy Bentley just makes a mistake into the chicane. And that is, I think, 3 positions there for Jacob. Sean Cardis a little,
Certainly looks like it.
and then John Collins a little bit of a moment as well. That little bit of lap time, that little bit of time that Mike Stevens lost through the excitement of the back of his Porsche has been immediately caught up. Ryan Greenaway glued to the back of Andy Bentley's McLaren. Going for...
Always be a bit tight coming into this corner.
Yes, that's a great move there, really late on the brakes from Ryan Greenaway. And Andy got a little stuck there, which gives Ben Goymer the inside for the next corner. And a great passing move there as well from him. That's been a really nice job there. Gabe Hawker, meanwhile, after his pit stop, comes out just in front of Roman Frawler, but of course has to cede that position back to him because he's effectively the lap down. And he is 1.3 seconds in front of Cormac Quinn. Cormac pitted a little bit earlier in the race, but he was also ahead by quite a significant amount. And to see his friend Mick Tartan in the pits, which means that Michael Stevens has got nobody to chase.
I'm not sure this is going to work out for these guys this week. I think Zolder's just a bit too short of a circuit for this to work.
Yeah, it seems like it's the length of the pit stop is spitting them right into the traffic, right out into being traffic. Sorry, for the top couple of guys, the top sort of 5-10, which doesn't really seem to be working too well.
I guess the gamble late in the race is that you're all going to be pitting at once, and in that lap you might be able to get some time up. But
yeah,
so much for the strategy of coming out into clean air.
Yeah, it's not great when you get the blue flags and you have to actually slow down and give up time. All of that clean air is just a little bit negated by that. There was a bigger gap here between Ryan Harper and Håkan Roholt. I just it's not this lap that he's just finished, but the lap before he's made a mistake and run into like the 29.6s, Ryan Harper, which allowed Håkan to catch up to within a second, but then immediately Ryan opens up the gap to just over a second again. A very strong drive from him so far.
Of course. It's interesting, Santiago was right all over the rear of Roholt earlier, but he seems to have opened it up.
Yeah, and somewhere in the last sort of 7-8 minutes, Håkan's also managed to get himself the purple lap, so that car definitely coming to him rather than away from him.
He's just switched it on now. He's like, right, they've had enough slack.
Yeah, he's changed the engine map back to 1.
He was on fuel saving before.
No, I don't think even he could run those lap times with a fuel saving map.
I'd love to see strategies like that, but I just don't think the race is long enough.
No, I don't think so, and of course with the mandatory pit stop as well, and the mandatory... well, actually, I do think it's a mandatory tyre change. You might as well be taking fuel on, because the tyre change is the limiting factor in these pit stops, so...
Yeah, of course. And I would assume that if we just mandated one stop with fuel, most people would probably do no tyres 1 litre and just call it like that. Those kind of strategies only really work when you know you can pull like 1 less pit stop off.
Yeah, in the endurance scenarios and situations like that.
Yeah.
Phil Walker here was under pressure from Tim Streeton there for a second. Really good exit there from Tim, actually. And Håkan has managed to catch up to within a second of Ryan Harper now at the front. He will get bored of staring at the back of that Ferrari at some point. The question is Ryan Harper going to allow him to do anything about it?
Well, so far, he's certainly not. He's maintaining that gap.
Oh, and Roman Fowler goes... He thinks about going down the inside of that chicane and thinks better of it because Well, you don't want to be overtaking there.
These two guys are just ignoring those sausage curves, going straight over them.
Yeah, it's the power of the BMW curb machine.
Of course, this entire time they've been catching up to Santiago. Santiago, who's been dropping back from Roholt. I wonder if he's had damage.
Yeah, his. We'll see what lap times he manages to put in now. It's going to be a 1:29.1, which is, well, it is on pace with the rest of his laps, to be fair. So I wonder whether he's just running a setup that doesn't favor a heavy car.
Yeah, I'll watch his onboard for a little bit, see how he's doing.
Tim Streeton has dropped off a little bit from Phil Walker, but Darren Menzies is now all over the back of him. A little bit of a step out of the back for the Ferrari. The racing so far is going pretty much as we predicted. There's a couple of Nick Giles just going off the track. A little bit of damage to the McLaren, but he seems to have gotten it going. Back to my train of thought. The racing is going pretty much as we thought it would do, with overtaking being really difficult around here, but the cars being able to follow quite nicely. Small gaps have formed.
Well, yeah, and on the other hand, it's good to see cars that are in clean air starting to catch up with the cars ahead. Well, in most cases, anyway. As Menzies comes up right behind Streeton. Be good to watch him on the next lap, coming into turn 1, 2 and 3, because I think he's trying to make a move through there.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a look at Darren Menzies there, but Carlos Barros managing to make a move at the same time. He's just about halfway around the lap, so if we see any action in the meantime, this is really close racing as well. Andy Bentley having to defend from Bruce Oos. What are they going to do into the chicane? Andy Bentley just lets Bruce through. Just into the last chicane here, Darren Menzies, and that's actually Tim Streeton, I believe, going into the pits, so that makes that whole setup, unfortunately, a moot point.
Maybe he's just decided I couldn't get around him in that last one, I'll go for an undercut.
Yeah, maybe. Roman Fowler still putting on the pressure onto Dave Lewis here. Into the chicane goes Thomas Pichon, followed closely by Dennis McElligott. little too wide there, losing a little bit of lap time.
Going all, it seems to be the theme of their lap to be going all the way around, and then it's just losing a little bit of time to him in certain corners and then catching it back up.
Yeah, it's a nice little back and forth, isn't it, around the lap.
So settled down. I think we're at that point of the race where we're just waiting for the pits to start happening and to kind of mix things up a bit.
Yeah, I think we've got a few more minutes before the majority of the field is going to pit. I wonder with the way that the pit stops have gone, if anybody's going to consider going for an overcut rather than an undercut, and hoping that people get stuck around each other and then they can run in the clean air or get blue flags through the field. Could be an interesting way to use this this track's length to an advantage.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult for our drivers, of course, because they haven't got a strategy team watching the race for them to kind of make that call. They would have decided on they'll either kind of made their mind up before the race, or they'll react in the moment to what's going on. I'd expect, you know, if they had perfect information, or if they're listening to this broadcast, then perhaps they might they might consider it.
Yeah, maybe, but drama at the front. That is Hakan Roholt sideways.
Oh, what a disaster!
He hits the second turn in that chicane, and it sends him right. That is, as Vertex predicted in the chat earlier. I will quote him: "I'm sure the curbs will claim him at some point."
Well predicted.
Cursed by his friend.
Clearly driven on Zolder with him before.
Yeah, it must be.
Fraller goes into the pits.
Yeah, and he goes from P2. And yeah, now is about the right time to start making that not early, but early-ish pit stop. It's almost the middle of the race. Hakan Roholt also deciding to go into the pits, probably to change out those tyres. Are covered in grass and probably a little hot as well from the spin.
Yeah, a good time to reset, especially if you've just had a bit of a bad time.
Yeah, it's a good time for a little bit of a mental reset as well. So stop in the pits, have a drink of water, and get back into it. Got a little bit of a battle here between some of the people who have already pitted. Gabe Hawker trying to get past Tim Streeton. When Darren had a really good run through the chicane, got almost alongside Phil Walker, but the curbs, it seems like they're slowing him down a little too much. Stephen Crowley here going to go for the move. Yeah, he is. Gets past nicely.
Very nicely done. Nice and clean.
Yeah, nice and clean. Made himself big in the mirrors. Made sure that Dean knew that he was going for that move and executed it really well. We've got a drive-through for, I think that was for track limits for car 789, Eddie Wilkins.
Naughty boy. Taking too much curb. Too much sausage.
Too much sausage, using up all of his speed tokens.
And he seems to be wanting to take it immediately.
I always like taking my penalties immediately. I think it's... get it off the board. Get rid of that red thing.
Yeah, better than it hanging over or you miscounting how many laps you got to go before it expires and you get worse, penalties.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple more people into the pits. Santiago, Stevens, Dvorak, Goff. None of them really wanting to let the positions go. Although I'm a bit surprised by Stevens. Normally he's a bit of a late pitter typically, I would have thought.
Yeah, he does tend to like a late pit, but maybe... maybe he's been listening to us. This is a couple of really brave moves here between Tim Street and Gabe Holka in just before the chicane. Maybe he's been listening to the stream, and maybe he's been listening to some of his friends going, "Hey mate, maybe just cool it down on those tires, yeah."
I'm really curious where, our early pitters like Cormac Quinn, Gabe Hawker, and McTartan. Where is McTartan gone? Oh, there he is. He's in 22nd. See where they end up.
Yeah, after the pit stops are done, the timing board is all kinds of a mess right now because half the people are in the pits, half the people aren't. I think Gabe Hawker there got caught out slightly by the back marker and didn't quite manage to make the move onto Tim Street in here. Which allowed actually Darren Menzies to catch up to him quite nicely. For some reason a yellow flag popped out there for him, but he's absolutely fine. Who isn't fine though is Stephen Kral, and that looks like another victim of the chicanes, and he's a victim of the first chicane. Sorry, the first curb of the first chicane. So we've got the first curb claiming a victim in Stephen Kral, and the second curb claiming Hakan Roholt.
There's two more chicanes, so there could potentially be two more victims if this is a trend.
Yeah. Especially now that we've started moving into heavier cars again, there might be a little bit more excitement. Dean Hyde there, getting safely out of the pits, just behind Hakan Roholt. We've got the top 5 who still haven't pitted, and then the first person is Ryan Harper, who has already pitted, and he will probably inherit the lead when these 5 pit. Thomas Pichon has got himself a drive-through, and Ben Goymer has got himself a stop-go 30. I imagine those are both for speeding in the pit lane. That's number 223 as well, John Collins, with a stop and go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. thought the pit lane entry was too treacherous here. You have to know your braking point for it, but the pit exit has always been a real trouble point for me.
Yes, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because everyone is trying to make that apex, which is pretty much where you are. I think the pit entry is a bit treacherous in a different way, in that it encourages drivers to keep their speed up going into that chicane, which can really catch out the person that's trying to continue on the track.
Yeah.
And braking.
And it either results in a very terrifying moment or significant crashes sometimes, so...
Yes, exactly. I've definitely had more than one incident of a car very rapidly coming up behind me as they go, oh, I don't need to brake for the pit entry.
Not yet, at least. There's Ryan Harper trying to make the move on the outside of that corner. That is not a place that you would normally see an overtake, but Ryan Harper makes the move and then makes it stick. Oh! And that was the exact situation that we were talking about.
Carlos Barros going there like, I was about to pit, mate, you didn't need to pull in front of me.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, Gabe Hawker, I think he pitted very early. I think he probably had a little tiny bit of damage to repair as well, but he seems to have come out really well, because at the time of his pit stop he was somewhere in the 20s, and he's moved all the way up to 13th through the round of pit stops, so...
Yeah, I think I might be about to eat my words here, because I'm keeping an eye on Mick Tartan, who's already 2 places up from where he started, and there's still yet 2 more people at the front of the field to pit.
Yeah, but at the same time, you then look at Cormac Quinn, who is in 17th, so... Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what his position before the pit was, but... I feel like it's maybe not quite worked for him as well as it did for Gabe and for Mick.
Well, of course, Cormac was one of the very first ones into the pits, and he did come straight out into the leadership group, where he was of course forced to concede positions on exit, because otherwise he was just going to get blue flagged anyway.
Yeah. A little bit of a yellow. I think that must have, from Dave Lewis. He's lost 2 positions here. He's just coming out of the pits. I'm not sure if... Yeah, he had a bit of a moment there actually coming out of the pits. He's very lucky that there was nobody there, because he crossed the white lines on the exit.
Still waiting on Gasson and Jacob Hale to pit. I think it's not the first time that Rich Gasson has left it as late as possible to take his pit stop.
Yeah, for next time we can remember him as a fan of the late pit stop. But it seems to be working for him pretty well today, as Jacob Hale goes into the pits. And then right here, followed by Dennis McElligott and Cormac Quinn. That poor McLaren just doing his best to get out of the way and not affect these the race for the rest of these drivers. But just getting completely swamped there. Roman Frawler is now just behind David Lewis here. In a thing that is exactly the position where they were before their round of pit stops. Of course, they will eventually be a position up because of the spin from Hackett Roholt. We've still got Rich Gasson yet to pit. Polka getting a great exit from the first chicane, making the move. Yeah, really good exit there, making the move stick on the inside of this corner, running on the run up to the second chicane. Some battles are once again starting to develop. We had that little bit of a lull in the middle of the race. Now with 16 minutes to go, it's all starting to look a little bit more spicy again.
Yes, of course, the bit more keen desperation might be starting to pick up some frustration. Some of the drivers that just can't make the move happen. Kral pouring the pressure onto Cormac Quinn, who of course is on tyres that are approaching 30 minutes old.
You say approaching 30 minutes old. Did he pit with something like 7 minutes into the race, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, no, that was him, so probably even longer.
Probably even longer than that, yeah.
And Rich Gasson is finally in the pits.
He finally decides that his tyres have had enough after 40 minutes. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out as well.
Yeah, because so far he's gained, well, 7 positions since the start. He's got to come out. Will he get out in front of Michael Goff? That's kind of the question. I don't think he will. But he does get out in front of Dvorak.
Yeah. Just trying to cast my mind back, that was the big battle, wasn't it, between Marek Dvorak and Rich Gasson there. So I think that's worked out in Rich's favour.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to cast your mind back to what was going on towards the start.
There's a slow McLaren on the exit, and that causes a bit of a concertina effect there between Dave Lewis and Roman Frawler. We're just expecting him to be a little bit faster at the exit, but well, it is a McLaren through a chicane.
Yes, of course, not his natural environment, is it?
No, not with the big high curbs. Of course, the natural,
look like mountains from the
yeah,
the steering wheel of a McLaren.
Of course, the natural environment of a road-going McLaren is much more typically on the back of a tow truck. Notoriously unreliable, those cars. Jason Daly here tries to put his nose in the outside of Andy Bentley, doesn't quite manage to make it stick, or thinks better of it. Roman Fowler has dropped off a little tiny bit from Dave Lewis, which allowed Hakan Roholt to catch up. And despite having spun, Hakan Roholt is now less than 5 seconds from the leader of the race, with 12 minutes to go.
We're going to see another case of dialing it right up towards the end of the race from Hakan Roholt.
It is entirely possible that we're going to see some amazing stuff here from him.
Certainly hope so. Certainly hope so. Really want to see some drivers start to pile on the pressure, particularly the few possible overtaking spots.
Speaking of piling on the pressure, Stephen Krall still piling on the pressure onto Cormac Quinn, but not able to get through. Just goes to show just how difficult it is to pass around this track.
Yeah, and I feel you in terms of the yawning.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet in terms of the on-track action, apart from Thomas Pichon here, who's decided that turning is for not him.
Oh dear, that's a smashed windscreen.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if that was Wayne Bennett, that would be more than just a smashed windscreen.
Yes, of course, Wayne sadly had a bit of a fun time with fireworks and has had to retire from the season.
Yeah, those were some fairly gruesome times for the medical team.
Yes. Someone really should have told him you're not supposed to hold the sparkler from the sparkly end.
I've had a question a little bit earlier about the lack of Tomasz Lovrec here today as well. But yes, I can confirm he's not taking part today. I think there was a drive-through for track limits for Roman Fowler, car number 6 in P4.
Oh dear, that's really going to affect the field. It's still quite tightly bunched.
Yeah, there's a big fight here between Isaac Santiago and Dave Lewis going on, which is potentially, then Roman Fowler decides to go for the pit stop immediately. Jacob Hale doing his best impression of a ballerina here. Goes on the inside of Bruceus. Taps him out of the way, but gets spun around in the process. Good battle here as well between Jason Daly, Andy Bentley and Matt Keys.
He's all over the back of him there. Just trying to find some gap.
Yeah, trying to find anything.
Don't know about you, but I'm at that point of the race with, you know, that meme with a stick where he's poking something. Come on, do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do something. Anything.
Absolutely, we've just been watching people maintaining gaps most of the time, and then the occasional, you know, head-first dive into the barrier.
What's made it worse is Stevens has managed to drive in a straight line consistently for 50 minutes almost, and where's the fun in that?
Yeah. Somehow he's still managing to keep that Porsche straight. Maybe if we watch him enough, it might happen. But
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stevens Show.
yeah. Speaking of a little bit of action here, Rich Gasson just a big avoiding maneuver there for Mike Goff.
Keys says, I'm not dealing with any of this.
Yeah. Roman
Go on, try it.
Something's happened. Roman Frawler's gotten past Gabe Holka. It was another move out of the chicane, just got a better run out of it, and then got it done at the straight. Rich Gasson with a valiant defense here from Marek Wotak now. Mackey's straight back onto the back of Andy Bentley. You know, at the start when we said that the red flag might make some drivers more docile, we didn't mean quite this docile.
No, not quite. Well, Keys gets past Bentley after Bentley decides to abort the chicane attempt.
Yeah, and that's a nice, fairly easy pass there for Matt Keys. Position gained. Tell you something, the backmarkers are really starting to have an effect right towards the end here in the last 5 minutes now. And that is now Håkan Roholt right on the back of Dave Lewis.
Can he get the move done? That's the question. It looks like he's really trying to push for it.
It's a good run through that corner. But Dave is going to stay on the inside to defensive.
Oh, the contact!
Just contact, they pushes him off. This is going to be something that the stewards will be having a very nice look at later, but right now, the only thing that's gone and done is it's probably enraged Håkan Roholt, and an angry Håkan Roholt is probably the last thing you want behind you right now.
No doubt he's already closing the gap back up. So, enough of that. I'm going to close this gap whether you want me to or not.
A move has happened! Rich Gasson here, finally getting past Mike Goff through the final chicane. Quick replay on how it's got set up. Mike Goff just brakes a little too late, which allows Rich Gasson the run on the main straight.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, very well executed.
Finally,
pass.
action.
Action! Give us some action!
Content for YouTube.
Yeah. We need it for our 100% male audience between the ages of 35 and 45.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, Dvorak looks like he might be trying to make a move here.
Oh, he
And
doesn't
he's-
quite make it stick though.
No, he's trying though. So I'd like to see it.
That's what we want to see. And you know, this is so tight. If this was any other track, we'd be seeing moves left and right. But just Zolder being Zolder today.
Yes. I feel like they should do what they did in Melbourne. Remove some of the chicanes, please.
Very deep there from Walker. Yeah, I have to agree with you. The original, I had a quick look at the original track map from back from the 1960s, which basically was just the same track, just without the 3 chicanes, and just faster, more sweeping corners through there. Looked a lot more entertaining to watch a race on. That's for sure.
Yeah, I bet, especially with those cars that didn't have quite a concept of downforce yet.
Yeah.
Put a bigger engine in the car, it will go faster.
More fuel as well, so that it can burn more of it. Oh, there's
Driver safety.
could be a move. No, the Bentley just a little too fast.
Oh, but Gabe's going for
Gabe's going for it. And then just gets denied once again by Zolder.
Oh man, and leader is now on the final lap, so if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen soon.
It does indeed. Every time Gabe breaks so late into that final chicane, I clench my jaw and I expect contact, but every time he manages to get it stopped just in time.
Yeah. Brakes on that Aston must be pretty good.
Yeah, Gabe's judgment there must be spot on as well.
Fowler just piling on the pressure onto Mick.
Yeah, but
He's
Mick
not
doing
got
a
much.
really good job here. Just doesn't
he's
have
good.
quite enough grunt in the engine for this, does he?
Well, it's also making that Bentley's rear look even wider than it already seems to be.
Yeah. Neither of those two cars particularly small, but that is Ryan Harper coming across the line to take the victory, followed by Isaac Santiago and David Lewis, with Hakan Roholt in 4th position. After his spin, 4th position, what a great result actually. Can they make anything happen here? Unless there's a big mistake from either of them. Gabe really taking the aggressive line, but not quite. Andy Bentley managing to keep the position from Bruce Hopkins. I think that was a change for positions in the last lap as well. Rory Kilby just on the back of Sean Cardus, doesn't quite manage to make the move. Sorry, that was James Brown on the back of Rory Kilby. And that it has been 55 minutes of Zolder with, unfortunately, very few overtakes, but some good on-track action, and nevertheless, I'm just working on putting the results together now.
Well, it was a very solid race, particularly after the restart. It's just it's a shame that some overtakes just couldn't quite happen. Probably because every time they thought they were setting one up, a chicane appeared.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just very unfortunate that Zolder is the way it is. And then I'm looking for Andy Bentley as our last driver. And gentlemen, welcome to the commentators box. You are the 3 winners of our 3 categories, and I've got Alex Robinson here with me today to run your post-race interviews.
Hello. Cheers, thanks.
Hello, hello. So
Bonjour.
starting with our gold and overall race winner, Harper. How was that race for you?
Weren't too bad in the end, to be honest. After the red flag, I got lucky really, because obviously the first start, I couldn't get a good start. I went behind him, and then after the red flag, I think he made a mistake into D1 or 2, so I saw the gap, pushed ahead, got ahead of him, and then somehow managed to keep it on, which was good. I think he had a bit of an issue, so kind of drops off, but had a little bit more leeway, which was good.
Yes, he certainly did seem to drop off. It seems like you just kept cruising on into holding that gap for the entire race.
Yeah, luckily, I mean, the Ferrari's horrible around here, but in Sector 1, for some reason, I just had far more pace than everybody else in Sector 1, so I kept on kind of getting a bit of a lead in there. Then they kept on pulling back towards the chicane, because I had to literally not touch a curb. I was going through that without hitting a curb at all, so I was probably losing loads of time there, but I just couldn't risk it, because the car would just fly all over the place. It was horrible, but yeah, glad to keep it on.
Good, glad to hear it. Moving on to our silver class leader, Dennis McGallagher. How was that race for you, sir?
Sweaty. It was good. I was lucky. I didn't have a lot of practice during the week. I've done a few laps today or yesterday. But Ryan unfortunately got taken. He was way quicker than me in quali, and Jay as well. But Ryan touched with Pichon maybe 2 or 3 laps in, and I got ahead of him through that, and then I just kind of stuck to the back of Pichon for the first half of the race. And then when I came out, I was in between Cormac and Steve Krall, so just kind of hanging around between them. I wasn't really battling for position in my own class, but just kind of fighting for overall race position. But still sweaty, but nice to win it. Nice to win the classic.
Yeah, and how did you feel about overtakes in that race? Do you think they were particularly likely to happen?
You're waiting for someone to make a mistake. It's kind of unless you get a good run out of a corner, you're kind of waiting for someone to make a mistake. Even at that, I was behind a couple of different types of cars, and when we both got the same kind of exit, I just wasn't catching anyone. Just not really closing the gap. Maybe I was braking a little bit later, going into the turns, but coming out of them, I just couldn't catch anything really.
I understand. So, moving on to our bronze class winner, Andy Bentley.
Hello.
Qualified best, won the class. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I was happy with that. Sneaky little quali, did okay there. That was a PB, so happy with that. And then yeah, just pleased with the red flag, because I got quite a good start in the first start. Made a few places between people, and then got punted from the back somewhere. So I properly spun around. So I thought it was all over then. But yeah, red flag saved me, and managed to get a decent start the second time round as well. So and then from there on, it was just survival, really, wasn't it?
Great. So, remind me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like you pulled quite a lead versus your other class competitors.
Yeah, I think so. But don't tell Hitman.
Already know this. Ryan and you are going straight to pro.
No way! No, it's not happening. Yeah, we've done all right. So yeah, pleased. Got gradually better through the season. I think is the thing. Haven't been racing too long, so yeah, got nicely better through the season, which I'm pleased with, obviously. So yeah, going the right way.
Oh, I have to say your pace has improved massively over the season.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's taking a bit of work, but it's also taking a bit of pain from the wife. So.
Worth it.
Hey, faster.
Yeah, so I need a bit of wife comb work like you did the other day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Loads of valuable information there in that Discord channel.
Yeah, in case anybody's wondering how to mine your wife coin, then it's all in the DGSR.
It's all in there. It is in there.
Yeah.
In full descriptive terms.
Yeah, years of experience from the collective group on wife coin earning.
Probably collectively hundreds of years of experience, so...
Oh, stop. None of it useful knowledge or experience, but it's worth the read.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you all three for joining us in the post-race, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you guys for the
Yes,
comment.
right, yeah,
Look
very
forward
nice.
to it.
Look
Good
forward
race.
to look back at.
Need to go for a hose down now.
Yeah, cold showers all round.
Yeah.
Alright, thanks again, guys, and
Alright.
have
Thank
a
you
great
too,
rest of the
guys.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Well done,
Good night.
guys.
Can you eat?
He was about to say, put me in the stewards or something like that.
Yeah, he can do it himself. Well, today has been a little pedestrian, but it still doesn't change anything about... It's been a very fun 55 minutes once again, and, while to us it might seem pedestrian, it is still quite a pressured environment for the drivers, and they seem to have really enjoyed it, so...
Well, I'm glad that they enjoyed the race. I think Hitman hit the nail on the head in that you're very much waiting for a mistake, and fortunately/unfortunately for other drivers, not many did, which I think is a testament to concentration levels required.
I think that's a very good point that you're making there. We really didn't see that many big mistakes that would change to a sort of a change in position or anything like that, despite this track being really tricky. So yeah, well done to all of the drivers. Practice is definitely paying off.
I feel like the level of competition has definitely increased over the seasons that I've been with this group, and particularly last couple of seasons. I don't know whether that's because I stopped driving in them.
Yeah, what you're saying is that just because we've left, the standard of driving has improved massively. Well, that is entirely possible, but yeah, I have to say the quality and speed of all of the drivers is constantly improving. It's great to see everybody sort of growing with the community even.
Yeah, of course, and seeing drivers in their classes really starting to pick up leads, particularly like Andy Bentley trying to pick up confidence. As he said, he's a relatively recent sim racer, fairly new, so that confidence build is really quite good. And at the other end of the competition with our top level drivers, they're just the quality of the racing, and I'm particularly hoping for another battle, much like last week at our next circuit.
Yeah, and I think with that, we can probably call it a night there.